Welcome to the Crosspoints podcast.
Welcome back.
I have been living a really exciting life lately.
Well, you are kind of a big deal, Aura Hayes.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
You know, everybody should know that about me.
Everybody knows that.
I recently went to the Jonas Brothers concert.
The Jonas Brothers. Okay, now I did not know much about the Jonas Brothers until they have been like, your jaw has just dropped. Seriously, I know. I didn't know anything about them until like this summer. They kind of like I heard they came back together. I didn't even know they broke up.
Oh, listen, they were pastors' kids. They wore purity rings. They were on the Disney Channel.
What?
They were like Hanson family. I mean, like three brothers. I mean,
okay. See,
you really missed
you're
out.
talking a language I don't even know.
Out.
Okay, wow. I hear there's like some like TV thing, and I was kind of interested to watch it because I did find out that they were pastors' kids, and I was like, I want to.
They talk a lot about like how the church received their music. It's really interesting. Check it out on Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'm gonna try that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so a little while ago you were at this concert.
I was at the concert, and everyone was really. I mean, it was just shrieking and mayhem for the Joe Bros, who are all married, let it be known.
I want to know, what was the average age and like, what was the kind of the, tell me who showed up at this concert?
I think it was 30 women to 1 man ratio.
Oh, no.
And then I think it was like, I mean, for sure, I felt really old. I'm 31. I felt really old.
And
there.
you felt old.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
no.
I grew up with the Jonas Brothers guys. They're like my age, but I feel like...
Were there a lot of teenage girls that were there?
There were a ton of teenage girls.
Really?
Yes. There were a couple, like, kids, like maybe, like, 9 to 12-year-olds next to me that were boys.
Oh, my goodness. So their career could go on for a long time.
Oh, yeah. They will stand the test of time, David. Let it be known.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. We'll see.
Let it be known. Well, everybody was so excited.
Okay.
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
And then they talked about that they had flown in and then they went straight to the Chiefs game.
They went to the Chiefs game.
They did.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Okay. Are they Chiefs fans? Are they Chiefs fans?
I don't know.
I'm a huge Chiefs fan. I'm wearing red today.
You are.
Come
You
on.
are ready.
Well,
they went, I guess they were hanging out with Mahomes' sister. I guess he's a younger sister, allegedly.
All right.
And then Mahomes came to the concert.
He did not.
He was there.
Is he a Joe Bro fan?
Who isn't, David? You need to re-examine your life if you're not.
Well, talking about another like big deal kind of guy, Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Chiefs quarterback.
Yes.
Hey, just a quick little segue here.
Yes.
We are going to be doing a tailgate party on Thursday, October the 17th, I believe is the date. But yes, Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a Thursday night game.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. We're going to watch the Chiefs on the big screen.
Wow.
And we're going to tailgate at 5:30 at the church. We're going to have all kinds of food. We want you to bring your favorite tailgate sides. We're going to have...
Chips.
Dips, chips and dip, right?
Yeah.
We're also going to have a kegger out there.
What?
A root beer kegger. I love root beer. I love root beer.
You got me good.
So we're gonna have that. We're gonna have some yard games out there. We're gonna have a ton of fun. Nice. And I get it. Now the real diehard Chiefs fans, they don't want to be around a whole bunch of people. I get that. But we're gonna have a fun. We're gonna watch it on the big screen in church, and it's just gonna be a lot of fun.
Are you saying you're not a real diehard Chiefs fan?
I'm gonna say that I'm a fair weather fan.
Okay.
In most sports,
yes.
I'll say that.
Okay.
How about you? Are you a big?
I am a Super Bowl fan.
A Super Bowl fan? You watch
fair weather gives it almost too much. Like I don't even watch it that much.
I don't even think fair weather is even that can define you. That's
did they make it to the Super Bowl? Sure, I'll watch.
But it's kind of interesting. We talk about big deal kind of things going on.
Yes.
There's a lot of in the news. Maybe over the last year or so, the Chiefs have been kind of in the news about some of the players.
They've had some controversy with their players for sure. I feel like.
So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about people who tend to get away with things.
Yes.
Okay. And particularly maybe celebrities or high net worth individuals that maybe live a different kind of lifestyle than the normal average Joe Blow. Yes. And do they get treated differently? This kind of goes to the issue of justice.
Yes.
Which I think would be interesting to talk about.
Yes.
So I want to get your kind of thoughts on all of this.
Oh,
too.
My goodness. Yes. I love it all.
Okay, great.
I'm pro-justice.
You're pro-justice. So. Okay, me too. Okay, I love it. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about some of the things that have been in the news over the last several months and probably will continue to be in the news.
Yes.
Okay, so who do you got? I've got some people, but who do you have?
I have Tyreek Hill. He was a member of the Chiefs.
Yes. Okay, that was huge in the news for a while.
He was like, there was a bunch of controversy over like, did he abuse his child or not?
Right. There was even an audio recording that kind of came into play, and people were upset.
for the win.
Yeah.
There were no charges filed.
Right.
But like his son was taken from his baby mama and him.
Yep.
And he had in the past pleaded guilty to assault and choking of this baby mama when she was 8 months pregnant in 2014.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And if you listen to the audio file, he says, and presumably no one else is around. I mean, we don't know. Was it a doctor? I don't know. But taking the recording at face value, he's like, I did not do it. Mm-hmm. And she tends to maybe agree with him.
She does say that something that she covered up for him with like Department of Children and Family. Like there's some shadiness going down.
Something happened. We know that. But we do know, to be clear, because we want to disparage anybody that's wrong, that the hospital did say that the boy broke his arm from trying to brace a fall. Mm-hmm. So presumably, we don't think it was him, like, in anger, like, shaking him or whatever, something like that.
Yes.
And so no charges were filed as a result of that.
Filed, but he was a Chiefs player, and this went on for a couple years. Like, this was a kind of a big or longer. I mean, 2014 it started with the whole assault.
And he got released from the Chiefs as a result of that. And then what happens to him? Then he gets rehired.
Yes.
For what? Some $50 million contract or something.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Yes.
So, again, if you're going to believe the best about someone, he wasn't charged. So, should that define him for the rest of his life? I mean, I don't know. These are big questions.
They are.
That I think that we kind of need to talk about.
I know.
Oh, who else did you have?
I have Kareem Hunt.
Oh, yes.
Who's a running back.
One. Yeah.
My favorite position. Just kidding. I don't know anything about it.
You heard it first here. Or his favorite position. All right. I'm impressed you even knew what a running back was, so that's good.
Kareem Hunt, he also had a TMZ video.
Moment, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Of, like, kicking and, like, pushing a woman in a hotel
this wasn't just an audio file. This was a video that got played over and over and over of him literally kicking her while she's on the ground.
It's like a 19-year-old girl, woman.
That was a little disturbing.
Yes.
It really was.
And initially, he was not something didn't happen like huge initially, but the Chiefs did cut him from their roster.
They did. Yeah.
So they've had some.
Yeah. So we've had some issues, right?
Yes.
But now Patrick Mahomes, from what we understand, going back there.
Yes.
I mean, here's a guy who seems to be kind of this all-American kind of kid.
People love Patty.
They love him.
Yes.
And I heard something about you like his hair.
He's got some good hair, like locks of love right there.
Locks of love. Oh no, I've not heard of locks of love. That's pretty awesome. But now again, if you know me, I am not a big sports guy at all. But I mean, I think he's pretty impressive. They said he had 50 touchdowns in one season last year, which is like a record kind of thing. And that's wow. And he had 5,000. Passing yards, I think is what they say. Now I'm probably going to get it from the Chiefs people, but the idea of 50 touchdown, 5,000 passing yards, that's a pretty big deal.
People love him.
They go crazy. Kansas City is obsessed with him.
They put him on the screen for the Jonas Brothers concert for like a second.
Okay.
And then I think they almost realized, like, what are we doing? We can't put him on the screen because he was not in a suite. He was like down with
so there was like no bodyguards or whatever. And then you think that does he have bodyguards? I
don't know.
I have no idea.
He had a police escort when he left. Like, he was in an SUV. We walked by the police. Like, they had a police escort when he left. So he must. I think people are upset. Like, they would grab a lock and cut it off. Like, they are upset.
Really, it's that.
Yes.
Would you take a lock off his hair?
No,
okay, you're not that. You're not that.
I don't know.
It's a little strange. So the Chiefs have had their issues, along with a lot of other NFL, MLB. I mean, it goes against, just all throughout sports, but not just limited to sports either.
Correct.
Let's talk about this.
True. We've had some celebs.
I was thinking about Felicity Huffman, who not too long ago, she actually pleaded guilty.
Mm-hmm. She did the whole thing just as a reprisal. If you don't remember, she kind of did something to bribe somebody, did like an SAT.
It was an SAT tutor, which I thought was really like, I didn't know that they could do that. Apparently there was an SAT tutor.
Okay.
She paid him money, I think $15,000 in order to correct her daughter's score. So she did the daughter took the test, but then he corrected some of the score.
Okay.
I didn't know. I thought you had to be in a controlled environment in order to take the SAT. So I don't know how that all worked. But she pleaded guilty. She said she was wrong. The mom did.
Yes.
To do that.
So she was actually convicted of mail fraud.
Yes.
And the max sentence for that is 30 years and fines.
Wow.
Her sentencing was 14 days and a $30,000 fine.
Yeah, $30,000, 14 days
14
in jail.
days,
Yeah.
yes.
Or prison. Jail or prison. I don't know, either one.
I don't know, but I'm not expecting it to be like a hard knock life.
You're giving me some facial expressions here, like 14 days, whatever. Do you think she should have gotten more? Is that what you think?
I actually don't totally believe that, but I think that it's a little like if you like look at other people who've had the issues with mail fraud or doing things for their kids, and you look up their cases, they get longer. That's what I don't love.
Okay.
Everybody should have gotten a short. Like it's just people get a long time for things like kind of dumb things.
Yeah. Okay. Now what about Lori Loughlin? Like here's another one. Okay, she's was loved. I don't know if she's still loved by the public, but the idea of her Full House and all that.
And I'm a Hallmarkie.
Oh,
and she's all over the Hallmark Channel. Not anymore, but she was.
Did they cut her then?
They did. She had a TV show.
I did not know
their most
this.
popular TV show,
Really?
When Calls the Heart. And she was one of the mains on there, and then she did movies regularly for them.
Really? And they completely cut her out?
Completely cut her.
Really?
Really quickly, as soon as the scandal came
Okay,
out.
so tell our viewers what she did, because not everybody's going to know. What was so wrong? Why did they cut her? What was the deal?
She had, it could have been 2 kids, but for sure one of her kids, she paid an extravagant amount of money to get them into school.
Okay.
Into college.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure their kids dropped out. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, so she paid a lot of money in order for them to go to school. Now, was she the one, I forget, was she the one where she had to take like a rowing position or something in order for them to be a scholar athlete to get in?
Gonna be like a part of the crew team.
Yeah.
Like a rowing team.
So I think part of it was people were upset because she took away a scholarship opportunity that some poor person might not have been able to have.
The poor people who row crew. Like, please.
Or, come on, there might be some needy people out there.
Who's poor and has their rowing in their spare time.
Okay, so let's talk about this just for a second. So then my point is, okay, what about the people that give $1 million to Harvard or to whatever? You don't think that their kid's not going to be let into whatever?
Any celebrity who applies to Harvard, you're like, well, I don't think you're smarter than anybody else.
So then to me, it's okay, why are we making such a big deal about this?
Yes.
Okay, this is my cynical nature. It's all rigged anyways.
Yep, I feel similarly.
So what's the point? Why are they making such a big deal about this?
I know, and I would say that they are. They're really blowing it up. It's wah. But the whole portion of is the justice system being fair? Are they getting away with it? Are they that's the interesting point to me.
Yes, so let's dive into that because that's what I would say. So I think probably a lot of us, and I think a lot of people in our in society would say it's a bunch of dumb rules anyway. So why are we doing that? But let's talk about the real issues of justice.
Yes.
And that's what really matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just in general, I had an example of Floyd Mayweather.
Okay.
Who is a boxer.
Yep.
I'm sure you're really familiar with
him. Yeah, I've heard the name.
Yeah. I don't watch boxing either.
Okay.
But he was sentenced to 90 days in 2011 for domestic battery.
I didn't realize that.
It was a plea deal. He accepted it. And he was supposed to go in January.
Okay.
They delayed it until June so that he could do a boxing match.
Really?
Which I was that's so dumb.
Interesting.
And then he only served 2 months because, quote, jail food and water did not meet his dietary needs.
In order for him to stay in condition.
And they released him.
And they released
Yes.
Did they release him on good behavior? Or they just released him because he needed to...
That was the statement they came out with for why they released him. Wow. And that's particularly interesting, being that he's a black male celebrity, I find, because a lot of times there's a disparity in race and class there, but that's also a very wealthy celebrity, a big following, and kind of just doing what he wants in the justice system.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you this. I have some people that I know that are in prison.
Okay.
Okay, and are serving time. And I'll tell you, the rules that regulate how long somebody stays in prison or in jail are really strange.
Okay.
How they serve their time, how time is accounted for them. It seems to me to be real arbitrary. So I think when we talk about justice, there's a lot of latitude from judges to the time to the warden to all of these different players can kind of manipulate kind of how things are.
Yeah.
So it's not so black and white. And I think most people feel like it's black and white.
Yes.
If you're sentenced to 2 years in jail, then you got to spend, or in prison, you got to spend 2 years in prison.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case. And there's all this weaving. And so it just kind of, again, the whole justice of it just doesn't seem to be right.
I know.
Fair, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I think even like even though like we're supposed to be maybe relying on God for ultimate justice, we still like feel like, wait a second, what's going on here? Like, you know,
I feel like you have some hardcore justice issues that are living inside of you, Aura. Are you kind of a black and white kind of person? I mean, what happens with you if you know somebody has like transgressed the law? Do you hold that against them?
I hold them so accountable. Like I am so, and I'm not into particularly like cancel culture for like in general. I'm not like so pro that idea.
Okay.
But in my like own opinion of them, they were on the chopping block and they've lost.
They have lost it.
Yes.
They're dead to me.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
I am very strict with my celebrity rules.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, there's a lot of celebrities to choose from. Why not follow ones that you like and they're like solid? You know.
The other ones that have cheated and lied and whatever, they're gone.
Dunzo.
I kind of have oh my goodness. So do you like stop watching movies or TV shows because of some actress that has gotten away with something?
I have not seen a Brad Pitt movie since he cheated on Jennifer Aniston. Not one.
What? The Brad Jen days? You're going all the way back there? You've refused.
Yes, they are. I'm sorry, Brad.
You are taking up Jen's offense, aren't you? You are just like, forget it. He is dead to me.
I know. He publicly cheated on you.
Okay.
Nope, sorry.
You're not watching the new Ad Astra film that's coming out. Yeah.
Nope,
or that's
Brad.
out already, I should say. Yeah. Nope. Not going to watch it.
Downton Abbey beat it, FYI.
Now, so we should say too, I think this is something that that we should all know, that this isn't new to history. It isn't new to American culture. People with wealth and power and influence, they tend to have more leniency, or people don't necessarily lean into the whole law of things. They tend to be able to side skirt things.
Yes,
right?
Or they could pay for the best lawyers so they get better. You know,
a
it's
whole
not
other
always.
thing.
They just also have some advantages. Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit. Now, we don't typically talk a little bit, but we hinted a little bit before we started this podcast about people in the Bible that have gotten away with things.
Yes.
Because that's our whole thing, this podcast, is people that get away with things and the idea of justice.
Totally.
So who did you come up with?
Moses.
Okay, so what did Moses get away with? Just so our listeners understand that too.
Murder.
He got away with murder.
Yes.
Right.
That's now a TV show, How to Get Away with
But did he
Murder.
really get away with murder?
Yes.
Yes, he did. He ran away from the law.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Correct.
I mean, he was exiled.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
He exiled himself, though.
Yes, that is true. He never was confronted with the law, the authorities.
Yes.
You're right.
And then
that's
he
a great
was like
point.
put in a position of power afterwards.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I would give you that one for sure.
Thank
Okay.
you. One in my column. Let the record show.
One for Aura. Okay.
David, not you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please.
It's biblical David.
It's the biblical David, yes. Yeah, for sure. That's a really big one.
And what did he do?
Well, yes, of course we know that he had sex with somebody that wasn't his wife.
Yep.
She was married, Bathsheba was married to Uriah, who was one of David's kind of mighty men. And then David sent him to the front lines, asked his commander-in-chief of the armies to back away. I mean, this is just tragic. He sent the troops back, and then Uriah is killed in battle, and then David swoops in and consoles Bathsheba.
Oh my gosh.
Do we ever know if Bathsheba ever finds out? This is a question we don't know. Did she ever find out that he did what he did?
This is soap opera worthy. It's stressful. His transgressions are stressful.
And man, we look at the justice at it from a theological perspective.
Okay.
And it almost makes you wonder, God, do you realize what he did?
I know. Listen, if God was me, which obviously he's not, David would have been screwed. Because you would not have allowed him to continue to be king. Correct.
You would not.
Yes.
No way. No how.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. we're not always on the same page, me and God.
Right. Well, okay. So it's interesting. I've read this story over and over and over, and as I know, many of us have. But what we find before this incident happened, I'm going to dive into David just for a second.
Yeah.
What we find out is that David, before this time, had led really pretty much a stellar life. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had done everything correctly. I mean, was he perfect? No, but he had done so many things that God enters into a covenant with David.
Yeah.
This is like a chapter or two before this whole kind of Uriah and Bathsheba incident. And God says, I am so pleased with you, David. Yeah. I'm going to enter into an everlasting covenant with you that you and your whole descendants are going to rule, are going to be kings forever. Mm-hmm. Again, through the line of Jesus and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have time to go into that. But the idea that God enters into a covenant with him so that when David makes his mistake, big mistake, huge mistake, like almost unforgivable mistake when it comes to from a human perspective, God had already entered into a covenant with him.
I know.
Something comes into play with that.
It's weird.
Which I think it almost gives us hope as believers in Jesus.
It's true.
Right? Think
it
about that.
It does a little bit, but as like a reader, not like in the believers, you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like,
God, are you giving him a pass?
Yes.
That's what I think most people are going to read it from the surface and go, God, you gave him a pass.
Yeah.
That's not
like,
right.
I don't totally get it because a lot of people like would totally, they've been struck down. They would have been, like it's just like something so crazy.
Yeah.
And it almost makes you be like, what kind of covenant can I get in with God? Like, now.
Right, that he still loves me.
Yeah.
For me, it gives me hope. It's like, okay, I'm never too far from God's grace.
Yeah.
And the thing that we learn from David, obviously, is that he humbled himself.
Yes.
Unlike Saul, who refused to humble himself, had a proud heart, God distanced himself from Saul, didn't want to have anything to do with him. But with David, as he humbles himself, I mean, there's just so many lessons to learn there.
Yeah.
That I think that, did David get away with it? Well, no. His family suffered for years as a result of that. I mean, was it to the level and to the degree to killing and having adultery? I don't know.
Does God take his firstborn? Or he takes the kid?
He takes the kid. The kid dies, right?
Yeah.
His son rebels.
Yes.
His son sleeps with his own concubines in front of everybody.
Yes.
We have major schism within. I mean, it's bad. So David does suffer as a result of that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, though, God continues to lean in and calls him a man after his own heart, which again gives me hope that when I mess up, when I screw up, when I fail, when I do really dumb things, I know God's not going to banish me.
Yeah.
There's hope for that.
So
ultimately, do we get away with it?
Dum dum dum.
Bum bum bum.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
We do.
And then
I'm gonna hold it. I gotta stop there. Maybe it's not a maybe. We do get away with it in the sense that Jesus pays for our sins.
Yes.
And ultimately, he takes the fall for us.
Yes.
So we're in a sense, we get away with it.
Yes.
And I thank God that we do.
I know. Yes, you're right. I think
Come
it's
on,
so
Aura.
hard. Listen,
Push back. Keep pushing back.
It's really hard to be like, we get away with it because I have not murdered and slept with somebody and then murdered their spouse. So I'm like, would I get away with that?
Now we're talking deep theology here.
Like I'm like,
because would you say that no matter what sin you do, it still separates you from God, even the littlest of sin?
Yeah, but I'm a big believer that God still judges the levels of sin.
Oh, I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, sin. It separates.
Yes.
No matter what kind of sin.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the judgment aspect of it.
Yes.
I'm talking about sin separates us.
Yes.
And so then the only way in which we can have that relationship, that open door, is through the blood of Jesus Christ. Right?
Yes.
So in that sense, we do get away with it.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the judgment side.
I know. Is it kind of hard, though, because, like, even for a Christian to, like, think about another Christian who did something shady and then be like, where's the justice? Like, where is the punishment? Or where is the, like, you want it still, even if, like, you're like, well, great, you repented. Like, come on.
You secretly want them to pay for it.
For sure.
Oh, my goodness.
For sure. Like, there's something even in, like, when you read in the Bible that you're like, thank goodness God is just. Like, you're like, yes.
Yes.
Get him.
Come on. Fire and brimstone.
I mean, surely I'm not the only person like that who kind of has a happiness that God is a just God.
We want to see people pay for it.
We do.
But that's the craziness of God, is that when we humble ourselves and we admit our mistakes, he's quick to forgive.
I know. Does it blow your mind?
It blows my mind. But thank God he responds that way.
I know. You're right.
Really.
So you're saying I should forgive Brad Pitt?
That's what I'm saying. I think maybe you need to go see Ad Astra and let it go. If God has forgiven you, can he not forgive others?
That's true.
Brad Pitt did show up at the at some kind of what was the church service?
Kanye's?
The Kanye service.
Church service. I mean,
that's a whole. You know what?
Please.
That's going to be another podcast. We're going to talk about Kanye West and his church services. What do you think? I think that would be a good one.
I have a question for our viewers, though.
Okay.
If you were going to think about like a scandal that's stuck in your mind that you did not forgive, it could be a politician, a celebrity, like a church person. What comes to your mind? Like, what do you think of?
That's a great one. Yeah. What's the first one that comes to your mind of the scandal, the person that got away with it?
Yeah, I think, well, Brad Pitt comes really, really high to my mind. Okay. But then also Ted Haggard always comes to my mind as somebody. So.
But did he get away with it?
I don't know
what the legal issue was there. Was there anything real legal about that, or was he just ethical?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, okay.
O.J. Simpson.
Ooh.
I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot we can talk about.
All right. So let me know. Let us know in the comments what you guys think, and also send us in some suggestions that you would want us to talk about on our podcast. We're happy to talk about almost anything. So you can email us at podcast@crosspointschurch.com.